On October 12th, 2023, the harbour city awoke beneath a heavy, suffocating blanket of fog. The air was thick with moisture, every surface slick and glistening, as the mist crept through alleyways and curled around lampposts, swallowing the city's familiar edges. Ferries, the city's silent lifelines, moved like ghosts across the water, their outlines barely visible, engines muffled by the dense shroud. Inside, passengers sat in uneasy silence, their reflections blurred on fogged-up windows, each lost in their own thoughts. The world outside felt distant, colors drained and sounds dampened, as if the city itself was holding its breath. The fog softened every edge, turning people into silhouettes and the harbor into a realm of uncertainty. On mornings like this, the ferry ride became a liminal space, neither here nor there, suspended between home and work, surrounded by strangers, yet wrapped in a cocoon of isolation. The fog seemed to erase the boundaries between people, making everyone both visible and invisible. Faces were familiar but nameless, their features softened by condensation and shadow, each person a silent enigma. The anonymity of the crowd felt deeper, as if secrets could hide in plain sight. But on this particular morning, as the city drifted in and out of view, routine would quietly unravel. A man stepped onto his usual ferry, his figure swallowed by the mist, and by journey's end he would be gone, leaving only questions behind. In a world blurred by fog and routine, how does someone simply vanish among hundreds, unnoticed? Sometimes the thickest fog hides more than just the city. It conceals the truth itself. Paul Ivers was defined by routine, meticulous, punctual, and quietly reliable. An accountant, a husband, a father, and a creature of habit, Paul's life was a series of well-rehearsed steps. Every morning was a ritual. Up at 6:15, cereal and coffee, a kiss goodbye, and a gentle reminder from his daughter not to forget his lunch. He took the same 10-minute walk to the ferry, greeting the same faces along the way. He always caught the 7:30 a.m. ferry, exchanging a quiet nod with the crew who knew him by name. Paul sat in the same spot every day, his thermos and paperback marking his territory. He read historical thrillers, sometimes sharing book recommendations with fellow commuters. Paul was a fixture among commuters, quiet, predictable, but always ready with a kind word or a trivia fact about the city's history. At home, he was devoted, planning family holidays, helping with homework, and never missing a Friday game night. His life was an open book, his routines a comfort to those around him, until the day he became a missing page. The man who lived by numbers became the center of an unsolvable equation. "He was the last person you'd expect to disappear," said a fellow commuter. "How could someone so ordinary simply vanish?" The day Paul disappeared began like any other, but subtle details would later stand out. Paul left home, briefcase and novel in hand, blending into the steady stream of commuters. A ferry attendant later recalled his polite nod as he passed through the terminal. Security cameras captured him boarding the Harbor Spirit at 7:21 a.m. A fellow passenger remembered Paul pausing briefly at the gangway, glancing back as if searching for someone. On board, he climbed to the upper deck, out of camera range, heading for his usual seat by the window. A crew member noticed him settle in, opening his novel, seemingly lost in thought. The ferry slipped through dense fog, the city vanishing behind a white shroud. Passengers sat quietly, some glancing uneasily at the mist outside. One woman later described a sudden chill in the air, as if the fog had swallowed all sound. No one noticed anything unusual, no splash, no cry, no commotion. Yet, a crew member recalled a brief power flicker, the lights dimming for just a moment before returning to normal. When the ferry docked, Paul was simply gone. His seat was empty, his briefcase missing. A passenger who sat nearby remembered thinking he must have slipped off early, but no one had seen him leave. In the space of a routine crossing, he vanished. Unseen, unheard, unaccounted for. The crew searched every corner, but there was no trace. The ordinary had become extraordinary. The final crossing of Paul Ivers was marked by silence, fog, and a mystery that would haunt everyone aboard. Ferry systems rely on precise passenger counts. Every number is double-checked and every person accounted for. Everyone who boards must disembark. That morning, the process seemed routine, until the numbers didn't add up. 488 people boarded. Only 487 got off. The staff immediately launched an internal investigation. They interviewed crew members, reviewed digital logs, and retraced every step of the boarding and disembarking process. At first, they suspected a glitch or a missed scan. Maybe someone had double-backed or a ticket hadn't registered. But a thorough sweep of the ferry found no one left behind. No stowaways, no one hiding, no sign of a passenger in distress. The missing passenger was identified: Paul Ivers. His name stood out on the manifest, the only one unaccounted for. His wife confirmed he hadn't arrived at work and wasn't answering his phone. Colleagues and family were questioned, but no one had seen or heard from him. Investigators considered every possibility: a technical error, a medical emergency, even the chance that Paul had intentionally vanished. But the evidence pointed to something far more troubling. The anomaly was no longer just a technical error, it was a person, officially missing. The routine count had revealed a chilling truth, and the investigation had only just begun. The search for Paul Ivers was immediate and all-encompassing. Police, emergency responders, and ferry staff worked side by side, scouring every inch of the vessel, corridors, cabins, and even storage areas, hoping for a clue. Specialized teams swept the ferry with sniffer dogs, while officers questioned passengers and crew, piecing together timelines and last sightings. Outside, search boats fanned across the harbor, their crews deploying divers and sonar equipment into the murky depths. The water was cold and visibility poor, making every minute underwater a challenge. Divers methodically combed the area, surfacing with nothing but frustration. Meanwhile, investigators pored over maritime logs and interviewed other captains, searching for any irregularities or overlooked details. Days slipped by, and the harbor remained silent. No body, no briefcase, no coat. Nothing surfaced. For Paul's family, the agony was relentless. Friends gathered to support them, clinging to hope as each day passed without news. Authorities, too, felt the weight of the mystery, their efforts yielding no answers, and their resolve tested by the lack of progress. The city's busiest waterway had swallowed a man whole, leaving behind only questions and heartbreak. In the absence of evidence, theories multiplied, each more intriguing than the last. Some speculated Paul fell overboard by accident, lost in the fog and unnoticed by all. Others whispered that he orchestrated his own disappearance, slipping away into anonymity to start a new life. Some experts suggested a sudden medical emergency could have sent him overboard, unseen in the confusion. Rumors swirled about foul play, perhaps a confrontation gone wrong, or a secret enemy lurking among the passengers. Some pointed to the disappearance of his belongings as evidence of careful planning, while others argued his calm, orderly life showed no signs of distress. Alternative scenarios emerged. Was Paul the victim of mistaken identity, or did he simply choose to vanish, leaving behind a puzzle no one could solve? Every possibility seemed plausible, yet none fit perfectly. The truth remained as elusive as the morning mist. Paul Ivers' case unsettles us because it exposes the fragility of our presence in a crowd, but its aftermath rippled far beyond a single disappearance. In the days and weeks that followed, the community was left searching for answers, haunted by the realization that, surrounded by hundreds, we can still be invisible. Paul's vanishing became a chilling reminder that the social fabric connecting us is thinner than we think. Neighbors, friends, and strangers alike questioned how someone could simply slip away unnoticed. We trust someone would notice if we disappeared, but routine and distraction blind us. The case forced many to reflect on their own habits. How often do we truly see those around us? For me, Paul's story is more than a missing person. It's a fable about modern isolation and a call to be present in our shared spaces. The unresolved questions linger. Did anyone see something and not realize it? Could a single moment of attention have changed the outcome? Paul became a statistical anomaly, a man erased by routine. Yet his absence left a mark, a legacy of caution, empathy, and the need for vigilance. The mystery lingers, unresolved in both fact and feeling. The community still wonders, still hopes for answers, still feels the weight of what was lost. Perhaps the true legacy of Paul Ivers is this: a reminder to look up, Notice the faces beside us, and remember, every commuter has a story, and every absence leaves a void. Sometimes, a chapter ends without warning, leaving only questions in its wake. And sometimes those questions become the story we carry forward.